PodCastle, episode 783 for Tuesday the 18th of April 2023. Of the Body by Evgenia Triantafylou, read by C.L. Clarke and rated PG-13, with a content note for animal death and themes of infant death. Good morning, good day, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to PodCastle, the flying castle of fantasy fiction. I'm your host, Matt Dovey, and it is my pleasure to present for your enjoyment Of the Body by Evgenia Triantafylou, narrated by C.L. Clarke. This story was first published at Beneath Ceaseless Skies in September 2022. A reminder, further to our first anniversary episode a couple of weeks back, we're gathering archive recommendations from you, our listeners, to share throughout this 15th anniversary year. So if you've been meaning to go and submit something for that, this is your reminder to go to podcastle.org and look for the pinned post with instructions. Hopefully we get enough responses to start reading some out after our next anniversary episode with Anne Leckie at the start of May. Evgenia Triantafylou is a Greek author and artist with a flair for dark things. Her work has been nominated for the Ignite, Nebula and World Fantasy Awards, and she is a graduate of Clarion West Writers' Workshop. You can find her stories in Uncanny, Tor.com, Strange Horizons and other venues. She currently lives in Athens with a boy and a dog. Find her on Twitter or Mastodon at Foxes and Roses, or her website evgeniatriantafylou.wordpress.com. Sheree Clarke graduated from Indiana University's Creative Writing MFA. They've been a personal trainer, an English teacher, and an editor at PodCastle, and is some combination thereof as they travel the world. When they're not writing or working, they're learning languages, doing P90-something, or reading about war and post-colonial history. Their debut novel, The Unbroken, came out with Orbit in 2021, and the follow-up, The Faithless, was just released this past month for all your anguished, star-crossed sapphic needs. Their work has also appeared in Fire and Uncanny, and they won the 2021 Ignites for Best Short Story with You Perfect Broken Thing. And now pay attention, for our tale is about to begin, and its heartbeat whispers in your ears, whether you're sleeping or awake.
Of the Body by Evgenia Triantafylou, read for you by C.L. Clarke. When Osara and I finally lay sweaty in our bed that night, I know that when the 3 moons align, we will have a baby. Osara looks back at me, smiling. The wetness of her face is lined by the cold light of a moon shining outside our window. She can feel it too. She knows it like I know it. What shall we name it? She asks. She takes my hand and gently kisses my knuckles one by one. I don't know yet. I lie. I hope she can't feel my lie like she feels our child coming into existence. I have thought of 1,000 different names for our future children ever since our eyes first met. But right now, at this moment, when I should be the most happy, I am terrified. Terrified of the moment when Osara and I will hunt down the animal that bears our child and kill it. Will my aim be good enough to wound it without hurting our child? Will my hands shake as I cut its belly open and pry the baby out of its innards, slick with blood? Osara wraps her arms around me, sensing my fear. Her heat becomes my heat. Her cheek presses against my shoulder. It'll be all right, she assures me. I'll be there too. Huddled like this, we let our minds travel to the valley, to a herd of sharp snoots, inside the belly of a special one that's grazing on the tender night leaves. Ah, there, we both think. That's the one. That's our baby. Now, we wait. I am the child of a sharp snoot too. No, not her child. She was not my mother, only the vessel from which my parents gave birth to me. We all come from a vessel, and it's not always the same species of animal, but our parents are always humans, and so are we. We belong to our parents. It is a delicate balance, but one that can't be avoided. We are all interconnected. Our pregnancies and birthing run through the entire animal world. We call it the body, the collective body of nature. I have heard of children born of trees, but I've never met one. We hunt to survive and to bring our children to life, but no more than necessary. We keep some plants for grain and fruit, but not animals. The children might become confused and mistake them for the vessels that bore them, might call them mothers. They are not their mothers. I touch the scar high up on my thigh, where my leg meets the gentle curve of my hip. My father's knife gave me this scar after he missed with his arrows. I survived, but many of us don't. The night strider is already dead when Nipa slices its belly and pries her daughter out. Its jaw hangs open, its eyes glassy and bloodshot. "Watch me now, Sally," Nipa tells me. Her face is speckled with rain and blood from poking into the night strider's insides. "You don't want to kill your baby when it's time." I shiver and lean in closer, obediently. My hand is resting on my own belly. Even though it is empty of child, I can feel my baby growing. The feeling is inside of me, but also not. Still, it is as strong as if the baby were squirming inside my body. Somewhere back in our house, Osara is feeling the same. Nipa is done carving the night strider. Milk and blood dampen the soil. A smell I recognize from the buried memory of my own birth. Mother. Did I cry when they pulled me from her insides? Would her animal children recognize me now? Mosun is on the other side of the clearing. His body seems relaxed, propped against his spear, but his big eyes are scanning the woods for the rest of the pack. The night strider had young ones, her real children, that will soon come out of their lair seeking their mother, seeking meat and prey, ravenous and angry. A dozen of them maybe, judging by the size of her. It was breeding season 1 moon ago. Nipa is as deft with the blade as I am. That's why it was decided between Mosun and herself that she would be the one to bring their daughter into the world. Mosun did his part too. He helped corner the night strider and speared it in the back of the head, gave it a clean and fast death without harming their baby. I was not allowed to participate in their daughter's birth, of course. I watched from afar, hidden in the tall grass, until I was called to observe Nipa's work. Nipa and Mosun honor me by letting me be here, so I try to take in as much as possible. Soon I'll have to do this myself. "This one will be special," Nipa says. She holds the baby's body with reverence as she cleans her, trying to make her cry for the very first time. I know what she means. There are not many night striders in these parts. They usually pass through the Great Valley in the north, where food is plentiful. That's what this mother tried to do with her young ones. To be born of such a vessel means the child will grow up to be fast and determined, if perhaps a little too headstrong. A natural leader. When the baby cries, her voice is piercing. Her wails sound not quite human, not baby-like. Something of the animal always lingers during the first few days, but this is something else. Desperate. Like she's calling her animal siblings to save her. But they are not her siblings, just like the dead mother is not her mother. "Hurry!" Mosun cries from the edge of the forest. "I think they are coming." We see them, the pack. They are children, too, little more than babies, but they are many. Their eyes gleam like stars between the dark of the trees and the rain. As they approach, their teeth look bigger and bigger. Their mouths already half the size of their entire bodies. They scream back. "Go!" Mosun grabs his spear and throws it at them. He comes to us and hoists the dead night strider on his back. Nipa fastens their baby to her chest and starts for the village. I lag behind, letting them get a head start, and lift my bow towards the woods. The pups move sinuously through the tall grass. I count almost 20. It won't be hard for them to kill me if I stay too long. Their sharp teeth can tear away my flesh before I blink, but they are not confident enough yet. That's what they need their mother for. Come on! I hear Nipe yelling at me, but I don't go to them. I cut through the tall grass to the west, away from Nipe. Jagged rocks jut through the soil. I keep them close as I run, counting the paces in my mind. I hear the pups behind me, their bony legs click. One of them jumps out of the tall grass in front of me. I take a step back and raise my bow. The pup looks at me. It looks at what is in my hand. I stretch my bow and aim. Its tremendous jaws are spread apart, still crying for its mother, smelling her blood in the air, smelling her human baby. She is not your sister, I say. I release. The arrow grazes the pup's ear. It howls and pulls back, giving one last piercing scream before it leaves for the woods and the great valley beyond. I hurry after Nipe and Mosun, following the not-quite-human wails of their baby. The thin lips of Alessio, our priest, move in a silent chant as he pours dirt over the baby's belly and blesses her. Mosun and Nipe's child is unharmed, but still shocked from the birthing. The memory of being inside the Night Strider's womb is still warm in her mind. When she cries again, Alessio winces. What kind of beast is this? He whispers to Mosun and Nipe, but we all hear him. Mosun, ashamed, scuttles from his spot by the altar to cradle her in his arms, but she can't be consoled. The whole village is there, around the fire. Osara's hand holds my own, tight. The next child on Alessio's altar will be ours. This thought brings our bodies closer, quickens our breath. Have you thought of a name yet? Osara says softly to my ear. Her green eyes light up with the rest of her face. I shake my head. I have thought of many other things. Of the dead Night Strider and Nipa's relentless knife slicing her belly. Of the pup's eyes, full of fear, searching for the wailing baby. But most of all, the baby's howling cries. They have not changed yet. They still don't sound human enough. What if they never do? I squeeze Osara's hand and make myself smile back. A flower or a bird? I ask. She gives me a disappointed look. Neither, she says. I want something special. Alessio's prayers tell the story of an era when we carried our children ourselves. When we arrived to this world fresh and ignorant and stood separate from it. All living things shared one single breath. It was the body revealing itself to our ancestors. We stood on top of the body, walked around it, dove into its guts, yet we did not see it. But all things change, and so did we. Soon, being separate was not a choice we could make anymore. We ate the food of this world. We drank its water and killed its beasts. We disturbed the order of things, and the body noticed, and called us its children too. Slowly and painfully, we became a part of it. At first, the change was not successful. We suffered because we resisted. Our ancestors were afraid of the change. But when we let it burrow inside our bodies, settle, grow roots and veins, life started becoming beautiful again. But not easy. Never easy. When Alessio is done with the blessings, he turns and leaves without a second look. He doesn't pause to accept the parrot's gift placed at his feet. Have the baby's cries disturbed him that much? Nipa takes the Night Strider's hide from her satchel and wraps the baby in it. Only then does the baby calm and finally fall asleep. Each of us keeps our vessel's hide with us throughout our lives. In dark times, it has the power to comfort us. Just like a mother's arms, Osara says, and I know it will do the same for our child. Our child's heartbeat is a thump in our ears, a weight on top of our chests, a shiver down our spines. That's how I know something is wrong. When I hear the crushing silence. Osara gets up and runs. She leaves our house, the village, behind her, and runs toward the muddy river to the small valley where the sharpsnoots graze. I grab my bow and dash behind her. When we reach the edge of the forest, I can smell the fresh blood. I glance at the trees, and I instantly know my mistake. Our mistake. The Night Strider pups did not make it to the Great Valley without their mother guiding them. They stayed here, looking for prey. Osara is already gone from my sight. The herd of sharpsnoots is over the other side of the mountain towards the east. Suddenly, I don't want to follow her. A moment ago, I wanted to know what happened to my child, our child. Now my feet start to feel like rocks. I'm scared, but I make myself go. I make my arms pull me upwards all the way to the top of the mountain, even though my body screams for me to give up. It might have been born already, our baby. I tell myself this lie to keep my body moving. It has happened before, for a child to be born early. If it is born, then we can't feel it in our bodies anymore. It might be hard on the baby to be born so soon, but it will survive. Osara will hunt, and I will stay inside, and Osara is at the edge of the cliff. Her body is already folding on itself. I run to her and hold her. Keep her away from the very edge as she staggers. Then I look over her shoulder at the gaping expanse underneath. Every sharpsnoot I see is either slaughtered on the slope or drowned at the river that's swollen from the rains, trying to escape the ravenous night striders. There is no sign of a pregnant sharpsnoot, not from what I see. It wasn't their breeding season. On the river, dead animals still float, caught between rocks. Most of them have been carried downstream by the currents. I can't see them anymore, and I can't feel our baby. Osara is still curled in my arms, cold and round as a stone, but I can't feel what she feels, not anymore. What brought us close is now gone. I have my grief, and she has hers, together but separate. Not even the body can mend that. Every year when the rains leave, most of our food vanishes too. The sharpsnoots had fed us in the past, when times were lean, but now they are dead, killed by the night striders. It's not time for the reaping. There are a few animals in the valley, but the night striders still roam free, those that survived. 2 of our own come back wounded, hunting a sharpsnoot in the forest. The sharpsnoot died. It was not arrows that killed it, but night strider teeth. Osara sleeps by my side, but doesn't kiss my hands anymore, doesn't smile. She only stares at the ceiling, as if trying to find our child somewhere inside her mind. "Are you hungry?" I ask. "Not now," she says. "I think I feel something." I want to tell her I have a name for the child. It came to me in a dream. But when I woke up, I remembered there was no child to give the name to. I keep the name and the dream to myself and prepare to leave the house to forage. I need to look for worms, mushrooms, anything else I can find. I am better with my knife than my bow, but I take that as well in case a bird appears out in the open space where no danger can hide. When I open the door, there are berries and cursum leaves left on the doorstep. It's not much, but it is all people have now, and they are giving it to us. The villagers feel sorry for us. I can see pity in their faces every time our paths cross. Nipe and Masoon, on the other hand, are not so lucky. The people avoid passing their house and look away when they see them coming back from the hunt. I never see their child now. They keep her inside all the time. But sometimes I hear her cry in the night. I know why they keep her out of sight. It's not safe for her to be seen. There's something simmering in the village, something worse than scorn, a rumor that the baby has grown night strider teeth. I take the food and head for their house. The village seems empty. Everyone is out scavenging and foraging. The weak stay inside. But some gather every day in Alessio's house. What they are talking about, I do not know. But every time I see all of them together, weapons in hand, whispering to each other, my chest tightens. I know the villagers are about to do something terrible, and soon. When I knock at the door, it takes time for Nipa to open it. And when she does, I almost don't recognize her. Her cheeks are hollow, the darkness nestles under her eyes. She has the night strider's pelt wrapped around her torso all the time to comfort the baby. Behind her, there is darkness, not even the light of a candle. I hold up the food. You need this more than us, I say. The baby doesn't drink my milk, she replies instead. I stand there, not knowing what to say. That's because you are not her mother. Alessio's voice comes from behind me. He and a few others have surrounded the house. Mosun is with them. The child is not human, Alessio says. Look at the destruction she and her kind brought to us. You must return her. You can't do that, I say. She'll die. Then others take a few steps toward the house, towards me. You, of all people, should know. An old woman spits. They are pale from malnourishment, their eyes wild with fear. They look more like a pack of wild beasts than any night strider ever did. Mosun seems weak too. He doesn't meet my eyes. I birthed her myself, Nipa says. I heard her first cries. She is mine. What if, I think? What if she is both? She is of the body, like all of us, and she belongs to it as much as all of us. She could belong to two different worlds. In the end, they are still one. Alessio's face is calm like the surface of a lake. There are ripples underneath, if you know where to look. I have spoken to the body, and the body has spoken to me. The child must be returned. He is lying. The body doesn't speak to us like this. But there is no point talking to these people. Alessio has made up his mind ever since he laid eyes on the child. I squeeze the grip of my bow. Osara is still inside our house and can't feel me. She can't sense that I am calling her with my heart. I am screaming for her to come, but we are no longer connected in that way. Alessio, Mosun pleads. I'll hunt the beasts myself. I'll kill them all. A couple of the others have come close to the door and are trying to get inside. Nipa is holding them back. That won't make the child less of a beast. I think of Osara back home, and I hope she understands why I am doing this. I hope she forgives me. Wait, I say. I grab Alessio by the shoulder. What if we leave? The four of us. Alessio looks at me, curious. Leave? Mosun looks at me, confused. Yes, I say. My stomach feels rancid. What if Osara says no? What then? We four will take the child and leave. More food for everyone else. Where will we go? Mosun shakes his head, helpless. To the Great Valley. If it's not safe to hunt outside the village, then the Great Valley is certain death. But there are other villages far up north on the other side of the valley, and there's food if we survive long enough. For the first time, Alessio's lips curl to a smile. He will be happy to be rid of us. I find Osara looking out the window. When she sees me, she smiles like before, as if nothing has happened. I smile back, as if nothing is happening now, but my heart is heavy. I must ask you a question, I say the moment I come inside. Osara comes to me and hugs me, her arms tight around my neck and shoulders. "It's okay. I know," she says. Her voice has a joyful lilt to it. Has the sadness made her forget? "We are leaving." When she relaxes her embrace, I look at a bundle next to the bed. It's all the food we have and some clothes. Her bow and spear lie next to them. "I had a dream while you were away." She squeezes my hand as if I should know. "It will be okay." Our closeness makes me feel like we are one again, if in a different way. The weight slowly lifts from my shoulders, because now I believe we will make it to the valley. The baby looks gaunt, but no strange teeth sprout from her mouth. Nipe is holding her tight against her chest as we walk toward the woods. The pelt lies on her shoulders always. She is weak, but her movements are fluid, as though the Night Strider's soul has touched her, too. We stop from time to time, trying to get the baby to suckle her breast, but she drinks very little and turns away. We move again. Nipe has her bow ready, and Masoon has his spear. I have my knife, the one thing I am really good at, but I doubt it will be of much use until the danger comes close. Then it might be too late. I look at Osara, marching through the forest without fear. I wonder if it was a dream that made me say the words, "Great Valley," before. Perhaps we were still connected, in a way. "Stop," Nipe orders. And we stop even though none of us knows why. Nipe peers through the woods. The child is alert in her arms, but doesn't cry. Soon enough, the Night Striders appear. They have grown double since I saw them last. Their heads are still enormous, but their bodies are catching up. Not 20 anymore. No matter how strong, some did not make it. I glance at the baby, afraid she is going to start wailing and draw them closer, but she stays quiet. It is Nipe that starts howling instead. Masoon follows. My skin crawls at how similar to the beasts their howls are, like their child is changing them instead of the other way around. The Night Striders run towards us like shadows chased away by the sun. Before Osara and I can make a stand, they are here, a leap's worth of distance away from any of us. My hands are shaking, but I hold my knife up. It is half the size of one of their canines. One of them takes a step forward and whines at me. Is it the same one as the last time our paths crossed? I am not sure. What I know is that we are changing. Nipe and Masoon, and Osara and I, too. I know by the way Nipe and Masoon are watching me, by how Osara stands calm, arrows still in the quiver, by how my own hand doesn't grip the knife hard enough and slowly goes down. They are coming with us to the Great Valley, Nipe says. Keep your bodies low and your eyes forward. The young Night Striders follow us as we leave the woods and our old land behind. They follow their sister. Their soft steps are still behind us when we cross the river, now thinning and shallow. They never approach more than they already have, nor attack us, even though at night I hear their jaws chomping on smaller animals' flesh. There are other sounds too, animals big and small, and some for which I have no name. But Nipe assures me we are protected. We stop and pick up mushrooms and berries and anything we can find without using our weapons. We eat and we sleep, and the next day, a little after the break of dawn, we are greeted by a great opening through the mountains. The sky is so vast and the light of the sun so piercing, I grasp Osara's hand for comfort. When our fingers brush, I remember bits of a name that came to me in the dream. Osara smiles and leans on me. My body tightens with something like anticipation. Above us in the horizon, there are streaks of smoke. There are villages behind hillocks. We can't see them yet, but we will soon, if we keep moving. But we won't. Before the villages and the little fires and whatever lies beyond those hills, there are herds of sharp snoots grazing at the low leaves and digging at the earth for worms. Osara becomes stiff and tugs at my hand. Not far away, there is a cluster of bushes, thick and tall. She doesn't have to tell me where to go. The sharp snoots stop their grazing and look up impassively. Nipa and Masoon stay where they are. There is the ghost of a heartbeat in my ears, the breath of someone who isn't me on my neck. A name dances at the edge of my lips, but I can't bring myself to speak it. We are outside of the body because we are born, but the body is still inside of us. We are of the body always. And when we disturb the peace, it watches. We find the child inside a shallow hole in the ground, covered in dirt and sticks. He is a moon younger than Nipa and Masoon's daughter, but he looks bigger and more well-fed. He wakes up once he hears the noise and stares up at us with Osara's green eyes, confused and scared of us. Our son. There are other eyes watching us, too. His mother is right on the other side of the hole, hissing at us. Not a vessel. His mother. Osara's cheeks gleam. She starts to bend towards our baby, her arms already shaped into an embrace, but I stop her. You know we can't take him, I say. Soon he'll come to know us. We have to be patient. She nods and smiles, despite her tears. What is his name? She asks me. Balsari, I say. Of the body.
And welcome back. That was Of the Body by Evinia Triantafilu, and if you enjoyed that, I would strongly recommend listening to episode 659 as well, My Country is a Ghost, which was a finalist for the Ignite, Nebula and World Fantasy. I'd also recommend checking her website, evianiatriantafilu.com, where there are many more such dark fantasy tales from markets such as Uncanny, Strange Horizons, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, and the Deadlands. The darkness and the detail in this was like a Black Forest gâteau for me, rich and layered. Even as the world is utterly different from ours, though, with its own unrecognisable rituals and rites, the human reaction of suspicion and fear was painfully familiar from the news. It is always easier to direct blame to the vulnerable than it is to face the true scale and complexity of our social problems. And as we accelerate through the later stages of capitalism and climate collapse, we're only seeing more of it. Here on these rancid shores of British exceptionalism, we are seeing a concerted, coordinated and obscene immediate effort to make trans folk a target. We see our Home Secretary, one of the great offices of state, laughing in front of the camp she has had built in Rwanda to house asylum seekers, and hear her musing about repurposing decommissioned ferries as floating prisons for the most vulnerable, and read of her calling climate protesters loony lefties in one column, while saying anti-immigration protests have valid concerns in another. In less than a decade, hate crime in this country has tripled. The hatred feels overwhelming. The only answer I know of is the answer Sally and Osara give here: to stand by your neighbours, to not give in to bystander apathy, to draw a line and make a stand on it and say, this is not right. Hatred offers simple falsehoods as answers to complex questions and relies on momentum to glide over the gaping holes in its logic. And sometimes, stopping that momentum is enough to turn the tide on it. Even if only for a while, that pause will save lives. that was our show for this week. On behalf of everyone at PodCastle, your co-editors Shingai Njeri Kagunda and Eleanor R. Wood, assistant editor Sophie Barker, audio engineers Devin Martin and Eric Valdes, forum moderator Ossicat, and our many wonderful first readers: Aidan Doyle, Andrew Cahoe, Craig Jackson, Amalia Harrington, Julia Patt, Caitlin Zavanovich, Kieran Kalsaini, Ryan Cole, Sarah S. Messenger, Shrikripa Krishna Prasad, Tava Nova, Tierney Bailey, Zeev Wheaties, and myself, Matt Dovey. Thank you for letting us share another story with you. The legal bit. PodCastle is part of the Escape Artists Foundation, a 501c3 non-profit, and this episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means you can share it, and please do, but you cannot sell it and you cannot change it. If you want specifics, check creativecommons.org. Our music is by Shiva in Exile. Everything we do on PodCastle is 100% donor funded, and if you'd like to support what we and the rest of EA do, please join us on our Patreon at patreon.com/EA podcast. Prefer another method? There's details for supporting us via Twitch, Amazon Prime, Ko-fi and PayPal on escapeartist.net. We'll be back next Tuesday with another fantastic tale. In the meantime, you might care to check our sister podcasts: Escape Pod for science fiction, Pseudopod for horror, Cast of Wonders for YA speculative fiction, and Cat's Cast for cat fiction. If your heart belongs to us, though, we'll see you next week. Be safe and be kind.